Well, for deeper analysis on the Netanyahu government's announcement, we're going to speak now to Yossi Mekelberg, Senior Consulting Fellow at the Middle East and North Africa Program of the Chatham House in London. Thank you so much for joining us today, Yossi. So to get started, there appears to be some confusion or perhaps more speculation as to what the ultimate goal is. Is the Israeli military's plan, in your view, to take over just Gaza City, or do you think that this is a preview of a possible future announcement that the wider objective is to take over all of the Gaza Strip?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I think there's some deliberate confusion in the announcement. It's also in the terms of the timeline, how long it's going to take. A very arbitrary timeline was put of exactly 2 years since the October 7, 2023. But I think it's aimed to, in a way, to confuse, in a way to appease a lot of moving parts there, whether it's the extreme right wing within the government that would like to see not only taking over the place, but annexation and the expulsion of most of the Palestinians there. On the other hand, we know that the international community is adamant that that shouldn't happen. And then the United States is supporting Israel, but at the same time, there is criticism of the humanitarian disaster there. So it leaves the government and Netanyahu enough room to maneuver within the next few months, and mainly to serve his own political interests.
Speaking of those political interests, this decision comes despite quite a bit of domestic pressure, both on Netanyahu to act in a way that would allow a chance of survival for the remaining Israeli hostages. And we've also seen some pressure from ex-military leaders, reservists, people who say that this is not a realistic plan. It's a strategic error. So do you think that from the perspective of his own political survival, that Netanyahu has more to lose or to gain by going down this pathway?
We know that you're absolutely right. For many months, more than 70% of Israelis keep saying in poll after poll that they would like to see the return of the hostages as top priority, including at the end of the war. You mentioned the letter by 600 former, very senior security people from the IDF, Mossad, and Shabak. And even the current chief of staff has huge reservation about this plan, as he expressed yesterday in the cabinet meeting, including saying that this is basically as good as giving up on the hostages, those who are still alive. But Netanyahu at this point is trying to appease the most extreme elements within his own government and consolidate the base. He's taking a huge gamble here, but he thinks that if this gamble will pay off, then he might call election and still win it. I think this is probably for Netanyahu one gamble too far, with potentially disastrous consequences.
In that sense, sir, I'd like to kind of get your view on how you think this is perceived by Israeli society in general. You, for example, have said before that you feel that Israel has lost its moral backbone by permitting starvation in Gaza. How do you think Israelis see the occupation of parts or the whole of Gaza? Do you think those who criticize it see it as a strategic error or as a moral error?
I think both. I think, and in this case, it goes hand in hand. I think after October 7, 2023, most Israelis lost any empathy for Palestinians in Gaza. And it was enhanced by leaders that talk about all Gazan people being to blame or implicit or complicit in what happened then in the massacre of Hamas. The way that Palestinians are demonized and dehumanized and allowed to starve in Gaza, stopping humanitarian aid given by UN agencies and other international organizations. So this became also legitimizing this kind of behavior. On the other hand, strategically, in Israel, always the strategic view was that Israel shouldn't be involved in multi-front battles or war, and at the same time that war should be short. And here we are 22 months later, still involved with at least 6-7 fronts, and an army that suffers from severe fatigue. Some people serve more than 400 days over the last 22 months in reserve service. It's the conscript that there's a lot of the burden on them. Their service has been extended. And at the same time, I never seen in my lifetime following politics a country that enjoyed sympathy and empathy from the entire international community. 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, all the world rallied around Israel, and now it's on the way to become a pariah state. So I think on all these levels, it's both a moral bankruptcy, but also a strategic failure.
Speaking of strategic failure, sir, the plan to occupy Gaza is supposed to be until Hamas can be replaced. But following the October 7th attacks, a lot of reporting from Israeli media in particular detailed the ways in which Netanyahu kind of propped up Hamas at the expense of more viable governing factions like the Palestinian Authority. So do you think that this current Israeli government would ever accept any form of Palestinian governance?
We know that Netanyahu's lifetime mission was to avert and prevent a two-state solution. And that's one of the reasons that he propped up Hamas. And obviously, Netanyahu, being Netanyahu, he never takes responsibility for anything. He blames the military, he blames the other branches of the security forces. He blamed those who protested against him attacking the very foundations of the democratic system. He blames the gatekeepers of the society, including the head of the prosecution. It's only him that never makes any mistake, but the reality, the buck stops with him as the prime minister. He doesn't say only not Hamas, he said also we won't let the PA to take over. So who is going to take over at this small territory with 2.3 million people that is completely devastated physically, but people that suffer tremendous trauma, many of them need urgent medical help that they can't get, and also at this stage starving. So and that's where the international community should enter into this, to stop the war, to ensure humanitarian aid is entering. And by the end of it, one could only hope there will be also within Israel some accountability.
As a final question for you, Yossi, this conflict has, of course, been a part of your field of expertise for decades. Given what you know, what do you think would have been or is the best way moving forward for Israel to both guarantee its security, which is, of course, the government's stated objective, at least in the long term, and also to guarantee a right to governance and statehood for Palestinians?
So I think the basic premise should be that everyone in what we call mandatory Palestine or historical Palestine should have the right for security. Israelis and Palestinians, everyone has security. If not everyone has security, no one has security. And this can only go not through just military and strong military operation and wars. It should go through a diplomatic effort to resolve all the root causes of this conflict, to ensure that their self-determination, both Jewish state and a Palestinian state. Jerusalem is the capital of both. Solving the refugee issues, security, settlement. Unless everyone is enjoying the same, not only security, but political rights, civil rights, human rights, unfortunately, we will see more of these things.
Yossi Mekelberg of the Chatham House in London, thank you so very much for joining us today on France 24.
Thank you. Thank you.